I'm going to throw something at you. I was I was thinking about this. The way, and your life is probably a lot like this. You also do a golf pod, but for 6 months of the year, I don't take any time off. I work every day. Even
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, there's tons of football games on. I've got a notepad and I'm writing notes. So, and I know it's not ditch digging. I'm not saying that, but I work every day for 6 months, and then I take 7 weeks off over the next 6 months until Labor Day, right? And I was thinking about this, and I was, as I was flying from Chicago to LA this afternoon, I thought about you and this question. So I don't watch Netflix or anything outside of sports from Labor Day weekend until the end of football. And then I take a week off, like I just did. Uh, and then for about 6 months now, I watch a lot of Netflix, Apple TV, uh, Amazon Prime, whatever it is. I'll
Yeah.
watch series. So I watched Zero Day with Robert De Niro. It's okay. I thought De Niro was really good. I thought the acting was good. The plot was a little
I'll check that out.
it yeah, it's interesting. It's again, the acting's really good, and it plays. You can watch it. So like 6 episodes. But I was sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, one of the reasons, and I really think this is happening, is that events are still working. March Madness still kicks ass, gets a rating. College football games, NFL games, World Cup, Olympics, UFC, all still get great numbers. Anything Monday through Friday, baseball, NBA, hockey, MLS, really struggling. And I'm sitting there watching Zero Day. I watched it over the course of 2 or 3 days with my wife. She didn't like it as much as me. And it was, it was stuff was blowing up. It was
Yeah.
government. It was politics. It was De Niro. I was all in. And I was thinking about this, that hockey, baseball, basketball, MLS are all struggling Monday through Friday because they're not events. And what's happened is, my take is, once football ends, our nation, its favorite sport for 6 months is Netflix. And that they'll come in for an NBA final or a World Cup or an Olympics. But football and college football, but mostly the NFL, it is a 6 month event. Those Sundays and Saturdays, those are events. You go to them, you watch them, your friends watch them. Netflix doesn't do a lot of production during that time, knowing why release new stuff. Guys are checked out for 6 months. But I was sitting there watching it. Baseball's regular season, basketball, hockey. Hockey's having a horrible regular season ratings. And my take is, because they're competing with now the biggest off-season sport, which is Netflix. Streaming has gobbled up post-football to Labor Day a lot of these numbers. Now, I'm saying that because I'm a sportscaster and I have to watch sports. But man, when I got a week off, and if I wasn't a sportscaster, bro, I'm on
Well,
streaming. I am on streaming with my wife watching
let's use me
shows.
as an example. I couldn't have been a bigger sports fan as a kid through college, and even when I got worked in the NFL. I love baseball, love basketball. But as this podcast has taken off and we've had success, and we're just football is just kind of takes up my life. I don't one
Yes.
if it I watch the baseball playoffs. I'm not going to talk about it, but I know it's big culturally. Other people are talking, and I want to watch it. It's fun. But I know the other games. Why would I watch when I don't have to, and no one else I feel is that matters? And
And you sacrifice your life with your soon to be wife for 6 months. You sacrifice your
100%.
life.
So we don't have Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, Sunday nights, Monday nights. So even during the season, or I mean, during September and October, you got to give up Tuesdays and Wednesdays, right? Fridays, you can't just watch like Lakers Kings in late October when it's like, wait, are you talking about this? No,
Right.
I just want to watch it. I got $200 on De'Aaron Fox's over under here. That just doesn't fly. And it was much easier to do that when I was younger. I also think you just bring up Netflix. I saw or I heard on a podcast that YouTube, where it's consumed the most, is not on a phone or an iPad. It's actually on televisions. And that's obviously the youth, right? That's a lot of younger people watch YouTube on I don't view it like an app like I do Netflix or Amazon Prime, but people under 25 do. And in 10 years, those people are
Yeah.
going to be 30 years old. And it's just the options we have to watch TV. I think about when, forever just basic cable, you would, if nothing was on TV, you would just scroll around and you'd end up on random movies. You just watch Saving Private Ryan because it was on TBS. You never scroll anymore, right? It doesn't even really exist. I don't even have, I talk about television, sports for a living. I don't have a cable box in my house. I have YouTube TV. It doesn't even exist, right? Now, granted, I go to YouTube TV and Fox Sports 1 at 9 o'clock in the morning. You come up or CNBC or whatever. So I still have television, but it's completely different than just 5 years ago. I also think I've had this theory, for a long time, we thought the NFL was playing those London games to move the Jags to London, right? Which clearly is not
Right,
true
right.
because he just spent hundreds of millions of dollars. They're going to stay in Jacksonville. At least that's what he's invested a bunch of money there. What I think, and maybe once upon a time that was the goal. I think what they've realized the last 3 or 4 years, they just announced another Brazil game going to Germany. Well, where's Netflix's audience? Worldwide. So I can sell to Netflix in 4 years when I opt out of this thing. I'm not just getting John in Arizona or Colin in Chicago or Bill in Tampa Bay. I'm getting James on an Air Force base in Germany or Craig in Australia or, some dude in Brazil that likes football. So my numbers, I'm not just beholden to the American market, which crushes in
Yeah.
football. I'm worldwide, baby. And I can't, obviously, through you and through the platform that you have given me, the amount of people listening to me that are like, hey, I'm from Australia, got a question about the Cowboys. Or, hey, I'm from Germany, I'm a huge Niner guy. I mean, it's not a worldwide sport like soccer, but in terms of the way Netflix, once they get involved with the NFL, it won't just be
Yeah.
people in the States consuming the product. I mean, they just saw it. Now it's different, the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing, but that got 100 million people worldwide. So I think the NFL has pivoted to these international games to grow the audience to sell to the streamers. What do you think about that thought?
I think you're right on the money. I think
Because why would they be playing in Brazil
it's
again? What's
interesting.
the point of that?
Well, but I also think broadcast networks are attractive. For instance, when Netflix had their football game, CBS produced it. So Netflix, I still don't love Amazon's production as much as I do Fox
Totally
or
agree.
CBS or
I'd say Fox is
ABC.
I'm an NFC
I
guy.
like
I
the
think Fox is the best.
Sorry to interrupt this great video, but please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Now back to the video. Yeah, I mean, I've worked I've worked for NBC, I've worked for ESPN, ABC, I've worked for Fox. I think Fox's production is great. Now, I do think NBC is magical on the Olympics and deserves
Yeah.
all the love. But I think if I was Netflix, I don't want to create a sports division. I'll use Fox or CBS. I'll use their production people. I just want to buy the rights, stream it, and get eyeballs, and then I'll pay for it to be produced instead of creating 100-person remote unit or bidding for rights for the entire package. I'll take 6 games a year and I'll just use somebody else's production because I think that's what networks provide, and I don't think Netflix and Amazon are as good. Because I've known people that have moved to Amazon. I think Amazon does retail exceptionally
Yeah.
well. I think they've been clunky at the Washington Post. I think they've been clunky at Whole Foods. I don't think Whole Foods is nearly as good as it was before
What's an Amazon drop
Amazon
off?
bought it.
That's
I
what I
don't.
view it as. You drop off your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't go to it anymore. So I think Amazon does retail exceptionally well. They're getting their feet wet in sports, but I think they have a long way to go to be as good as CBS, Fox,
Well,
or
what I
ABC.
think is going to happen is, and Goodell's already hinted at this, is which I'm not a huge fan of. Now, luckily, most of these games are relevant. You live on the West Coast. When they play that international morning game, sometimes it's 6:30 in the morning. It's like I got to get up to watch Titans Jags here at 6:30 a.m. But they're going to have, and Goodell's not just hinted at this. He's kind of talked about. We plan on having potentially a whole slate. Not 8 games, but like 15. Couldn't you sell that as a package like Amazon Prime? Boom to Netflix. They're all over the international, all over the world. Every single morning, starting week 2, there is a 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time game. And Netflix pays, like Amazon, out of the blue. These games would have existed anyway at like Fox or CBS, with the 11 other ones in the morning slate. You just put it as it's not a primetime game, but it's in its solo slate. It's not competing against anybody. And you sell it
Yeah.
for whatever, I don't know, $2 billion a year, right? Because wouldn't you
Yeah.
say that Thursday Night Football, the next go around, Amazon or Netflix is going to pay more than they're paying now once they're proving they get 15 million
Yeah.
people to watch every single Thursday night?
Yeah. I mean, not just because I work at Fox, I like broadcast quality production on my football games. I think they're really, really good at it. And yeah, I don't think the streamers are there yet. I thought the Paul
It didn't
Tyson
work.
fiasco it was a
Yeah.
mess. It was embarrassing. Everything, the production, the fight, the marketing, none of it worked for me. I thought it was bad. So, and again, I'm a devoted Netflix watcher, but there are things, I've always been a believer. Years and years ago, when sports gambling became big, Supreme Court rules in favor of it, and there was a lot of money being thrown around, and I had talked to a couple of the bigger players, and my take was always, I like doing business because I bet on sports, but I didn't want gambling companies to be my boss. I wanted broadcasters to be my boss because I'm a broadcaster. And if I was a podcaster, that's why the volume. We do podcast, digital media, that's our specialty. And so I think Netflix does documentaries and true crime and movies, and I don't think sports is their go-to. And the idea that, hey, we've got a lot of money, let's just throw it at sports. Now, I think Amazon's gotten much, much better on Thursday Night Football, but they still don't feel, to me, as good as the networks. And they have more money than the networks. So it's not like a resources issue. They don't quite have as good a feel for it right now. And so this idea that Netflix, I mean, I've watched some Netflix sports. They don't have a feel for it. And they're content people. Amazon's a retail giant. I mean, go look at the Washington Post fiasco. That's a mess. The grocery store stuff, it's not very good. So I am a loyalist to, and I also like, honestly, how much do we ask fans to chase around games? Can you just put them on the 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock window, West Coast or East Coast? It's 1 and 4. I mean, you're getting to a point with these fans now. I mean, sometimes with baseball, Roku, Apple, Fox, guys, you're making it hard for fans.
Well, I think Fox and CBS have been the only two networks that have just all the games they've had have just been on Fox and CBS. I mean, ESPN put one on ESPN Plus last year. Obviously, the Peacock thing, which again, I understand. Like, is NBC going to survive? Right, if it's not for Peacock, big picture, right? I mean, that's CBS and Fox have been such stalwarts with the NFL for so long. I mean, they have just been hand in hand, and there's some loyalty. I mean, the NFL is not like many industries where it's management and everything's constantly the same families have owned these businesses forever. Every once in a while they get a new owner, but the Jones family, the Hunt family, the Davis family, you just go around like the DeBartolo Yorks. I mean, the same people, the Spanos family. These people have been in for decades. The Crafts and all their kids are going to get it. So I just believe that they look at, they just create something out of nothing and be like, oh, here's an international slate. Here's $2 billion of games that we were going to throw that you and I would have had on a little box on Sunday Ticket, not even paid attention to, and they'll get $2 billion for it. Now, can this maintain forever? I don't know how long football will dominate, but it does feel like they're really in the peak of their business powers right now, right?
Yeah, but it's not even a loyalty thing. I like to be in business with people who are proficient at what they do. Like, you're really good at football, right? Like, I just speaking about the volume, we hire people who are YouTube specialists to handle our YouTube
Yeah.
business. Like, we hire really good podcasters to do podcasts. This idea that streamers come in and they've got a feel for. I mean, Apple's baseball was
Yeah.
awful. I
I
tried
did
to
too.
watch. It was awful, and I'm not disparaging any individual. It just was bad. Roku, not good enough. So I'm sorry when I watch the networks do sports. Like, for a prime example of this is the NBA deal, and ESPN. maintains its rights, and they'll do fine. And I don't love everything about their coverage, but it's consistent. Amazon and NBC take big stabs at it, and my guess is it's going to take Amazon and NBC 2 to 3 years in this deal to figure it out, minimum.
No, I'm with you there. Can't.
Are you gonna go to Amazon to watch NBA?
No,
I'm not.
I mean, Colin, I don't go to ABC to watch NBA. I mean, the Warriors play the Mavs. I watched probably 10 minutes today. So no. But as anyone, that's the thing. And that is where football and its value is so strong. Like, it's proven. They can throw random game on Peacock and 20 million people be pissed off and tweeting about it, but they'll still watch. I think you throw baseball and you throw basketball behind some of these paywalls, little different animal. Listen, I got involved with The Athletic right when it started. There were some people that drew a lot of revenue. Our guy Ethan Strauss, he's a cash cow. You put him behind it, people will come. A lot of people, and these people were businessmen beside it, so you're getting no subscriptions here, and we're paying you $400,000. It was very black and white. I think baseball, like in basketball, it's going to be very eye-opening to, like, how many people just watched this game? How many people just watched the Bulls played the Magic? 200,000 people watch this game. I mean, there are not, you can tell me they dominate on social media. They are not going to go watch regular season random games with a lot of these brands. Even if I just put Lakers, just pick a random opponent, like Lakers, Atlanta Hawks on a streaming service next week, relative to what it would be on ESPN or ABC behind a stream, it would get cut. I think it would be 20% of that number. If it would be tiny. Don't you agree there?
Yeah. I think it's very difficult. I think I saw the NBA wanted to do what the NFL did, divvy it up, and it's smart business by them. But I'm just telling you, I'm going to stay watching NBA on the network I've been watching the NBA. That will be ESPN and ABC is where I will watch a majority of my NBA. Now, NFL or college football, World Cup, I'll go anywhere. UFC, I buy the cards. I go to 4 or 5. We should go to one, by the way. I go to 4 or 5 UFC fights during the summer. Oh, they're so much fun. And then I buy 3 or 4. So I would say about 30 to 50% of the time I'm watching the UFC fights. So that gets me behind a paywall. NFL, major college football. There are some things I would pay for. I mean, a Dodger-Yankee World Series, I'm going to pay for that and watch that. But if you think regular season NBA, I'm going to a streamer, you're out of your mind.
And that's where Amazon, aren't they playing a different game? Like, ultimately, Netflix wants me to stay and watch other shows. Amazon wants me to order, like, Maria yelling at me, we need protein bars. Boom, one button. We got protein bars delivered 10 minutes later, right? Or we need laundry detergent. Like, their business is completely different than a lot of these other streamers that are just the media entity. Theirs are hosting data, retail business, delivering. And it is really incredible what you can press a button and have something delivered to your house in 20 minutes.
Amazon is the most,
I hate going
in
to the
my
store,
life.
And they have enabled me to never really have to go to the store.
Amazon is maybe the only company in my life every single family member uses. My sister lives rurally. My wife's in Chicago. I'll be there soon. Son's up in Oregon. It's the only company in my life. I mean, Microsoft was a big deal. Intel, I can name, I'm trying to think of anything comparable. Everybody. So Amazon is a retail giant. They're not a content company. Now they're pivoting to that. So Netflix, you would think, because they're a content company, it would be a much easier pivot to do sports content. But I'm telling you, some of their early stuff has just not worked for me at all. And I say that as a devoted Netflix consumer.
And then they're not really in the live business. All their stuff is pre-taped movies and shows, correct? So it's just people in Hollywood or wherever producing this stuff. I just think Netflix, their money, and they're clearly dipping their toe in with the Christmas game, is going to continue. I do think it's inevitable that they get just that morning package at just a number that everyone's like, you just paid what for 6:30 a.m. games?
I'll watch them, though, to be honest with you. I'll watch them. All right. John Middlekauff knocked out an hour, former NFL scout, 3 and Out podcast. Good to be back. We'll talk soon.